Mr. Emil. He's a postgraduate, having completed his MSW with specialization in medical and psychiatry. Presently in charge of handling the psychosocial aspects of beneficiaries under 3 link centers mapped under Pallium India in Trivandrum. So, hoping to have an interactive and interesting session with Mr. Emil. Sunil sir, with your permission, I am handing over it to Mr. Emil.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. My name is Emil George. I am a social worker here at Pallium India. So, as VP said, I am the assigned social worker for 3 link centers under Pallium India. Today's session is on the topic psychosocial aspects in palliative care. We will go through what are the psychosocial aspects, basic genogram symbols, what we social workers and psychologists do in psychosocial care, and some of our interventions and social supports. So, before we begin, let's go through the World Health Organization's definition on palliative care. Let me read it. Palliative care is an approach that improves the quality of life of patients and their families facing problems associated with life-threatening illness through the prevention and relief of suffering by means of early identification, impeccable assessment, treatment of pain and other problems, physical, psychosocial, and spiritual. So this is where our palliative care treatment differs from curative treatment. So in a curative setting, the physical complaints are noted, it is being addressed, and the cure is the main focus of physical curative setting. But in palliative care, we see the person as a whole and we try to address all physical, psychosocial, and spiritual aspects. Our aim is to alleviate the suffering and improve the quality of life of the patients. Here in palliative care, we have 2 different concepts. The first one is total pain. The total pain concept says that the physical pain reported by a patient is compounded multiple times by his or her life circumstances. That is, even if there is medication for pain, still the other sufferings will last. That is, that could be psychological, that could be spiritual. So we need to address those areas also to make the patient well. Then we have this concept called social diagnosis. Here, we don't simply make a diagnosis just by seeing the presenting physical complaints, but we also look and try to understand what are the psychological issues, what are the psychological backgrounds of the patient, what is the social background, what all environmental factors are operating on the patient's life. It's basically a person in his situation diagnosis. Now, this is how we represent total pain in a pictorial representation. The first part is the physical part, which is addressed by the medical team, that is the doctor and nurse. Then we have the socio-economic part, which is addressed by the social workers and other volunteers and all. Then the psychological part, we try to do the initial assessments and screenings, and if there is a severe problem, we will hand it over to a psychiatrist through our doctors, by our physicians, through our physicians. But if the problems are moderate or mild, we will refer to our psychologists here. And the last one is a spiritual. This is a bit hard to assess. It takes a lot of time to assess. Frequent contact is required. It deals with hope, meaning of life, such areas. We will discuss it later. Now let's see why psychosocial care is important in palliative care. Once a person is diagnosed with a life-limiting or life-threatening illness, the entire picture changes. Till the diagnosis, he was a normal person with normal thoughts about future, but now he is having a lot of stresses, a lot of worries, fears, uncertainties, challenges, etc. So we should also be able to address these areas. Then only we will be able to alleviate all the sufferings. Then the other point is that once there is a diagnosis, the patient, it's something similar to tunnel vision. Whatever happens to the patient associates or relates it with the illness. So a lot of disruptions will be there in his thoughts, feelings, and emotional relationships are all. So there also we need to provide psychosocial care. Now let's see what assessment is. Assessment is simply an exploration process of gathering information about a patient, a person, but uh, the information gathered depends upon the relation between the assessor and the person. So if there is trust and there's a bond, there a lot of information will be gathered. Now, each time when we do the assessment for the first time, it's called an initial assessment, and that will be a very detailed one. And there will be follow-up assessment. Each time we see the patient, we do a follow-up assessment to know the present status. So whenever we do an assessment, we will make a plan for the patient, and there will be small goals which the patients can achieve. And if there are some problems or some issues are identified, we will make some interventions there. The primary aim of assessment is always to identify the problem areas, which is a result of the illness that may influence the well-being of patients and their families. Assessment involves collecting of information, identifying and honoring the strengths, weaknesses, resources, and needs. So need assessment is one thing we do during this assessment process because we want to know what is the patient struggling with. As I said before, assessment is an ongoing process. During the course of the illness, various needs may change. There may be new psychosocial issues may arise, new needs may arise. So during the course of this illness, the needs may change. So we need follow-up assessment, frequent follow-up assessment. We do periodic assessment for each patient. We will set a date for the follow-up. That's how we do it. And the tools which we use in an assessment are purposeful observations and purposeful conversations. We will be keen in observations, and whenever we talk with the patient, we try to ask more open questions and leading questions. The source of information is always the primary source of information is always the patient. First, we listen to the patient and try to know his side of his view of his illness and his situation. Then we try to listen to the caregiver. To verify the facts, we will go to collateral sources. Those are friends, relatives, neighbors, etc. Home visits are the methods which are an important method which we use to collect information to go there and see how the patient is living, what kind of house he is living in, what kind of community support the patient is receiving from the community, who are near the patient to support him. All these things can be assessed through home visits. Now, in the point of view of total pain, we have a format, something like a format or a tool which we use for the assessment, psychosocial assessment in our setting. And this is how this is an intro for that. First thing we try to address is or try to understand is patient overview. Then we have insight on illness, and sometimes before this insight, we have treatment history also. Then we have family overview, socio-economic overview, psychological overview, and spiritual overview. And after that, we will set a plan and interventions. To go in detail, these are things covered under patient overview. First, we will ask the name, age, gender, occupation before and after the illness, diagnosis, who is the primary caregiver, and what is the relation between the patient and the primary caregiver. Now the insight part, second part, insight, we will try to understand what the patient knows about the diagnosis, how is he accepting the diagnosis, what does he know about the prognosis, and what his doctors has told him about the diagnosis, and what is his knowledge on palliative care. That is also asked. Also, the same for the caregivers. We will ask the same questions to the caregivers to know what do they know about it, how are they coping with the diagnosis, and how are they accepting the prognosis. Also, their information, what do they know about palliative care, what all are the services they expect from us. In some cases, the diagnosis or the prognosis might be hidden from the patient in some cases. So if there is a problem, if there is if this that's called collusion, if this collusion can affect the patient's health or any can cause any other problem to the patient, the team will discuss and try to break it to the patient. Now the next part is a family overview. And the most important part in a family overview is a genogram. A clear and a well-detailed genogram can save a lot of time, and it can make us easier to understand the family dynamics very easily. So in the genograms here, we use relationship status and everything that can be included. Like if there is alcohol abuse, we mark that in the genogram. If there is a possible psychiatric problem, that we will include in the genogram. The relation between individuals are also marked. Then we will try to mark who is a primary caregiver, what all are the issues faced by the primary caregiver. We will ask whether there is any problem, any other illness which the primary caregiver has. And we try to map the support system within the family, like who is supporting them, who is there for the patient always. Such things we try to understand. And the structure of the family, whether it is a nuclear family or it's a joint family, or if the patient is living alone, all such things. Then the nature of relationships. As I told before, we mark the nature of relationships also, whether it's a hostile relationship or whether it's a close, very intimate or close relation. All those are marked in the genogram. Now let's go through some of the basic symbols. Basic symbols and relationship things we do in genogram. These are the basic symbols. For a male, we denote it with a square, and for a female, we denote it with a circle. And if the male and female are married, we connect it with one relationship line. The individuals will be connected with one relationship line. And if they are separated, we use a slash. We use a slash to denote that they are separated. And if they are legally separated or divorced, we use two slashes on the relationship line. Now here are some children and birth symbols. If the child is a biological child, we use a square or circle on a line descending from the relationship line. And if the child is adopted, the same symbol will be used, but on a dashed descending line from the relationship line between the individuals. If it's a foster child, we use dotted lines with gaps in between dots, which is also descending from the relationship line between the individuals. Now, if there is a pregnancy or a pregnant woman in the family, we denote it with a triangle. If there is a miscarriage, we cross the pregnancy triangle with an X. And if there is an abortion, we draw another line in between the X on the pregnancy line. On the miscarriage triangle. If there is a stillbirth, we use the same male or female sign, a square or circle, in a small, but it will be a smaller one with a huge cross over it. Now, if there are twins and triplets in the family, same way we connect the relationship line, and from one point in the relationship line originates two descending lines, which shows two. In this picture, you can see that there are two squares and two male children who are fraternal twins. And in the case if they are identical twins, we connect them with one single line in between them. So same in the next image, you can see that there is a triplet with a female stillbirth in the next image. Now we will go through emotional relationship. If the relationship is plain or normal, we connect them with single relationship, single line. And if there is a friendship or closeness between two individuals in the family, we connect them with dashed lines, which will be two dashed lines. And if there is intimacy or there are two very close individuals in the family, we will denote with double bonded lines. And preferably we use green colors to mark it, but it depends on the situation. And if there is a hostile relationship or conflictual relationship between two individuals, we denote it with zigzag lines. We connect it with zigzag lines, and the gaps between the zigzag lines will be huge. If there is violence, same zigzag lines will be used, but the gaps between the zigzag will be tightly packed. Now, for the emotional relationship, same as violence. For violence, we use red color to mark violence, but in emotional relationship, emotional abuse or sexual abuse, we use blue color. And if there is emotional abuse, the individuals will be connected with tightly packed zigzag, but same tightly packed zigzag, but the gaps will, the color will be blue. And if there is a sexual abuse, the same for the emotional abuse will be used, but there will be two lines, two zigzag lines to connect between the individuals. And if there is neglect or abuse, a dashed line will connect the individuals with an arrow pointing to the one being abused, neglected or abused. So here the female is being neglected by this male. Now the next part of our assessment, the continuation of the assessment tool, it's a socio-economic overview part. Here we try to understand how the family is doing with the basic amenities, like how much food they getting enough food, how do they have good clothing and shelter, are they receiving all this from ration, or do they have any other source? All of those will be tried to know. Then we will know who is the breadwinner of the family. We will try to know who is the breadwinner of the family, whether there is a stable income or if it's occasional jobs. All those will be marked here, and we will try to find out other sources of income. Whether in some communities there will be agencies or organizations which help them like, with a small amount of money monthly. So we will mark that out here. And if there is community support other from any other sources, that will also be identified here, and we will try to mark it there. Then government schemes, we will try to know what all government schemes they are receiving, and if they are eligible for any other schemes, we will try to enlighten them about them, that those schemes also. And education of children, are the how are the education of the children going, are they still continuing the education, or if there is any other problem regarding the studies, is there a dropout in the family after the illness has been diagnosed? All those will be figured out here. And then debts, how much debt is there for each family, how much of that was taken for treatment purpose, how much amount do they have to pay for repayment, monthly repayment, and what is the interest rate? All those will be inquired here. And other financial vulnerabilities, that could be for medical expense, that could be for treatment purpose, scanning purpose, all other things. Now ECOMAP is another tool which we use. It's something very much close to family tree or genogram, but an ECOMAP is used to mark the relationship or represent the family's relationship with other systems in the community. That is, it's a snapshot view of important interactions of patient's family with other systems, groups, extended family, individuals, organizations, associations, etc. So this was first developed by Anne Hartman. This is an example for a ECOMAP. Here in the center we can see the family as a unit shown in a circle, and it's connected with different circles. That is neighbors. That's a system in the community. Workplace, how the workplace is supporting the patient. Are they accepting or giving the leave to the caregivers or family members? Do they accept the illness and help them? Are they helping the patient and his family? Then government services are there, community services, religious institutions, friends, clubs, schools, volunteers. Now the next part is psychological overview. Here we are trying to assess the psychological distress. Mostly this could be anxiety, depression, and other small issues, coping issues, acceptance issues, and all. Then emotional support. We provide them emotional support, and there is anticipatory grief for caregivers. Even before the death, they will have this kind of grief which the caregivers get. That will also be assessed. Then what are their coping mechanisms? How do they cope with these situations? That will be also be assessed. Then we have the spiritual part, spiritual overview. Here we use various tools like Oxford tool for spiritual assessment, PICA tool for spiritual assessment. This helps us to understand how the patient is dealing with his meaning of life. How is his connection, feeling about connection? How is he feeling about faith and belief? how is his connection with the religious community, how is his strength and comfort, and how is his hope. Now here we can see some of our interventions, general interventions. The first one is family meetings or support groups. We conduct support groups for patients and their caregivers. Then we liaison with different government organizations and local bodies for patient well-being of the patients. We facilitate various things for the patients from the community. Then we have rehabilitation, various rehabilitation practices that we will explain later. And for bereavement support, we will do bereavement follow-ups and calls. Bereavement visits are there. Even after that, we will have a support group for caregivers of bereaved patients. Then periodic follow-up is there. Supportive counseling. We provide supportive counseling to the family, to the patients and the caregivers. Psychoeducation will be provided by us. Here we can see some of the possible social impacts of a life-threatening illness. First one is social isolation. Once the patient is diagnosed, there is a good chance that patient could isolate himself from the community or society. Sometimes he just limit himself to the room or his own room or his own house. Social withdrawal is exhibited by some patients. Then there is dependency. Some patients tend not to overly depend on the limited support systems they have. So they will all use. What happens is that in time they will you overuse this resource and these support systems, and they may be gone. And there will be financial instability due to treatment and other expenses, and lack of social support. And there will be debts from huge treatment procedures and all. Then there is loss of work, unemployment, incapability to work. Then there are interpersonal issues which can be caused due to the family role shifting and all. Now here are some possible psychological impacts: feeling of shock, uncertainty, and hopelessness. As I said before, anticipatory grief, poor insight on the illness, anxiety, suicidal ideation or wanting to hasten death, poor coping with the illness. Psychosocial and spiritual suffering is real, but can be difficult to recognize and treat. This can manifest as physical complaints also. So, if there is a psychosocial issue or a spiritual issue, this can again manifest as physical complaints, as pain or any other symptom. Now, here we categorize the patients into vulnerable population based on some of these factors. If they are living alone, if the patient is living alone with no other support, if there is an elderly without support, if there is a single parent in the family, if there are multiple patients in the family, if there are victims of gender issues, domestic violence, physical or verbal or psychological sexual harassment in the family, individuals with mental health issues, individuals with suicidal ideations, if they are socially isolated, so if there are substance users in the family, individuals in extreme poverty, there is a lack of food, food, water, and shelter, etc. So we have a tendency to call
Dr. Anu? Dr. Anu? Sorry for that.
We have a tendency to call the caregivers bystanders, but there are only 4 kinds of people in the world. This is a quote by Roslyn Carter. There are only 4 kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need a caregiver. We should respect those individuals who acknowledge their complex role and never dehumanize them by calling them bystanders. So this is a question we usually ask the patients for them to open up. What do I need to know about you to help you better? So this is usually a starting question. Sometimes we ask to the patients. Here we have a picture which shows how we celebrate. This picture was taken with the consent of the patient and caregiver. So here we are celebrating a patient's birthday in our IP unit. Now, earlier I said about vocational rehabilitation. These are the purpose of why we do the vocational rehabilitation. It's to stabilize the family's income, to encourage the family to become more self-dependent, to ensure the financial security of the family, and to engage the family. So, giving a vocation is also an engagement for the family. Sometimes it can help in relieving a lot of their problems by engaging them. Now, these are the vocational, some of the vocational rehabilitation we have given before. The first picture shows goat rearing, in which the goats were given by us to the caregiver. The second picture shows candle making setup given by us, and the training was also given by us as Pallium India. And the third picture shows a sewing machine given to the caregiver. And the fourth picture shows umbrella making setup given by us Pallium India, and also he was trained in Pallium India. These are the four social supports we have in Bali, India. So this will be given to patients as well as for the bereaved families of patients. The first one is education support. If the education of the children have been problematic after the diagnosis or due to financial crisis, we give education support. And then we have food kit for the families which don't have enough food, or if they lack basic amenities, or they belong to a vulnerable category with no food resource, any support system, we provide food kit. Then we have vocational rehabilitation to make the family self-sufficient and self-dependent. Then travel aid. If the patient visits us in our OP, or if the patient want to visit in other hospital OP, we provide travel aid if they are not affordable. This is a support group for our children under education support. And this is called Kuttikuta. These gatherings and meetings happen in periodically. Thank you. The difference between what you do and what you are capable of doing will solve most of the world's problems.
Thank you, Mr. Emil.
Thank you, Emil. Emil has concentrated mainly on what psychosocial support we can do on in a practical manner. So, if you have any questions, you can ask. So, Emil, did you talk about various schemes that are available for patients with various disabilities? I know there are many schemes by Government of Kerala, but I also understand that that will be different for different states. So I think it will be your duty to find out what are the schemes for available for patients under Social Justice Department and various other departments.
Yes, I have a slide with the teams alone, but that's another slide.
Yeah.
Till the time Mr. Emil takes up the slides, I think we have a question from Dr. Prakar. Do you also provide spiritual or religious support, and also how to keep these patients away from superstitious practices and quacks. So, Mr. Ravi, would you like to take up that? Just one moment.
In our setting, spiritual doesn't exactly mean religious support. It means that how the patient understand his life, or sometimes the patients will have a struggle of having. They will have this question that why I am being chosen for this disease. I lived my life all rightfully, then still I have the disease. That kind of acceptance problems are there in the spiritual part. We use tools to assess this, and we will hand it over to our psychologists. They are better in doing this kind of deep intervention. So we have two psychologists here. They will address these issues. And about the religion, if it's so not about superstitious practices, but if it's a religious practice, if the patient is willing to do a religious practice, and if it gives some relief to him, we won't prevent the patient from doing it. We will help him. That's what we do. Thank you.
Yeah, superstitions are part and parcel of, I think, everybody's life, and it is more prevalent in rural areas. Um, what we can do is, we may not be able to remove this superstitious practices, but I think if we are able to find out an influential person who can influence this patient, then only they will understand, okay, these are not uh, good practices or good beliefs. If you are going to talk about that, then patient may not accept that. But we should be able to find out somebody who are influential. Then only we can do something. And quacks, yeah, and that's also possible. But it's not very common in Kerala, but it's still there. So whatever we do, when patients ask us about opinions regarding some types of treatment, we should be able to give our um, good explanation to the patients and families why it may not be useful or it may be useful.
Thank you, Sunil. I believe Dr. answers your query. Dr. Neelkant, right now, Mr. Emily is working on the details, once, the details about the skills, some of the skills, we'll be definitely sharing that. Dr. Urmila has commented that it is very difficult to get psychosocial support everywhere. NGOs usually don't get interest until they don't get any benefit in return. So, Dr. Raj,
I think, as Dr. Urmila told, it's the most difficult part of palliative care, getting psychosocial support. But I think those who are doing palliative care should also have an active interest, or active interest to give good psychosocial support. So in our institution, we have about 8 doctors, but I think there are 15 social workers. So that itself indicates how we view the psychosocial support. So it is not only from the staffs who can provide psychosocial support, but um, whenever we work in palliative care, we should be able to get some good volunteers in the community so that the psychosocial support can be given very fruitfully. So all those rehabilitation which we do, the volunteers play a major role in providing this psychosocial support for the patients and families.
So right now we'll be sharing the details, the brief of some of the schemes being run by
Okay.
Kerala
Yeah.
State, as Sir had suggested.
Yeah.
For that.
The first one is cancer pension. This is available for this is for cancer patients who has undergone treatment at medical college or RCC. So a government doctor's certification is necessary for this, and the rest of the requirements are given here: Aadhaar card, certification from a government doctor, ration card copy, bank passbook, income certificate of the patient, passport size photo. These are required documents. It has to be submitted in an Akshaya center. The benefits are the benefit is 1,000 rupees per month. So each year they have to update the certificate. Now the next is widow pension. These are for widowers and divorced women. If the spouse died or they are abandoned, no person shall be eligible for this pension if the person is in receipt of any other social welfare pension. So if there is any other pension, they won't get this pension, and they shouldn't be remarried. They must be destitute, and annual income should be less than 1 lakh rupees. The required documents are Aadhaar card, copy, proof of identity, death proof of husband, address proof, mobile number, passport size photo. This has to be submitted to Akshaya Center, and a pension of 1,400 will be given per month. Then we have Swalamban scheme, which is for people with blindness, low vision, mental retardation, and mental illness. The age band is from 18 to 65 years. The annual income should be less than 3 lakh rupees. So a disability certificate should be submitted. Identity card or Aadhaar card should be submitted along with the documents. A ration card should be given. Other things, income certificate and passport size photo. This is also to be submitted to the Akshaya Center, and this is like an insurance, and 2 lakh rupees will be insured. That is for medical claims and all. Then we have Karunya Benevolence Scheme. It's for any health condition that is serious, like cancer, kidney, liver, or heart diseases. And this can be availed by both BPL and APL category people who can't afford the treatment expenses. But their annual income should be below 3 lakh rupees. And their treatment should have done in a government hospital inpatient unit. So these are the required documents: certificate from treating doctor, ration card, health insurance card, a patient's photograph of patient and family with their house as background, original IB ticket of the latest admission. This is done by the money the government earns from the lottery called Karunya Lottery. So this application has to be submitted to the district lottery office. And now we have Ashwasa Kiranam, which is given to bystanders of bedridden patients. One who is totally bedridden and at home without debilitating disability, one who cannot take care of himself or herself for any day-to-day activity without the support of another person, and one who belongs to a family below poverty line. This is actually given to the caregiver. This is given through the Anganwadi teacher. She's the one who forwards this application, and the pension amount is 600 rupees per month. Then we have Chief Minister's Relief Fund. This can be availed for any chronic illness and for the people who come under BPL category, or for the family members of a person who died in an accident or emergency, or as emergency support like floods or any accident emergency. There will be ration for free ration also along with this. The benefit is 1,000 to 5,000 rupees once or twice, 1 lakh up to 1 lakh rupees as for accidental death. Now we have this is another scheme which is Talovalam, which is a which includes free treatment for children below the age of 18. The diseases include kidney diseases, cardiovascular diseases, cerebral palsy, brittle bone disease, hemophilia, sickle cell anemia, orthopedic deformities, and other neurodevelopment disabilities and congenital anomalies. The application needs to be submitted to KSSM office hospital, and an initial assistance of 50,000 rupees will be given. Rest will be based on the decision of superintendent or HOD of the hospital. Now, this is another scheme, Samashwasam. This is a financial assistance to kidney patients belonging to BPL families who are undergoing dialysis at least once in a month. The application needs to be submitted at the village office, taluk office, or hospital, government hospital. And assistance benefit is 525 rupees per month to 900 rupees per month. Then RSBY treatment card. This is a coverage, and the coverage under the scheme would be provided for BPL workers and their families. The data relating to BPL families in the selected district shall be entered into the prescribed software by the concerned state government or nodal agency. So the state government or nodal agency should enter the details, and a registration fee of 30 should be paid. The details are to be submitted to state government or nodal agency. 30,000 rupees per BPL family as benefit. They receive 30,000 rupees per benefit as benefit. Then disability pension, 1,600 rupees per month. For this, they have to attempt. The conditions are 40% or above disability, 20,000 rupees annual income or less. The patient should be either physically handicapped, deaf or dumb, blind, mentally ill, etc. The application has to be submitted to local self-government. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Emil.
PPT. Dr. Neelkant has stated that he used to give motivational books, life story of great saints, rosary, photos of murtis, etc. to patients. Very good gesture, Doctor. Would you like to unmute yourself and throw some more light on the same? Possible?
Hello.
Yes, Dr. Neelkant, we can hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
So we just wanted to know if you can throw more light on that. You have mentioned that you used to give motivational books, life story of great saints, rosary, photos of murtis, etc. to patients. So if you could share one or two instances where you felt that provided the desired result or that made a very positive change in the life of the beneficiary, if you could share any one instance which comes.
I have
in-
one personal incident when I was in first year residency in surgery residency. One patient was with a very large healing ulcer was there, and nobody was there with him. He was alone, and for around 1 to 2 month stay was there. So in long such a high risk patient for depression, because he was alone very long time of treatment. So I gave him a book on the life story of Pramukh Swami Maharaj, and the book was very big, 500 pages approx. He read all the book in just 15 days. And because of this motivational reading, he was so much happy and always smiling. So if we can motivate, because the main thing is that in wards their patients have nothing to do, so they just think negatives, because all the field, all the environment in hospital is negative. Why we are deceased? Because of the increased negativity in our minds, that is presenting as a somatic illness. So because to kill that negativity is very much important. If their mind is fresh, they are happy from within, then they can heal easily and faster. And because of this, I used to chant the holy name of God. I give them rosary. Many COVID patients have given rosaries, and after 1 to 2 years also they remember me, and they don't remember anything. They just remember this rosary. Because of this chanting and this spiritual thing, they were happy at that time and also at the after this much also. So it is a very good thing, and we can all, these are the type of healing, spiritual healing, and we have that many great personalities.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nirmal, for sharing that valuable info. Even very small gestures from which may seem small to us, but yeah, could have a large impact, a big impact on the life of the patient sitting in front of us. Very true.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dr. Urmila has commented that providing financial support to the bereavement families beyond our NGOs. For this, government institution should have some association with NGOs as on personal level, not possible to get their support selflessly. Dr. Suni, would you like?
Yeah. So after the physical problem, if you ask the patient which other problem are they facing, the answer would be the financial problems. So we know that as an institution, even NGOs will not be able to cover up for all those financial problems, because if you take patients under our care, at a point of time we have about 7,000 patients. But uh, uh, how we will be able to provide financial support for this, at least for 6,000 patients? Maybe the 1,000 patients will be affordable, but the rest all have some financial problems. It may be variable from person to person. It might be some 10,000 rupees to 25 lakhs. So this is going to be very difficult part of palliative care, and you may not be able to provide this much money to the patient, however big your NGOs. So I think it would be our duty to direct them to the schemes which are available. And if you think that, okay, this person definitely needs some support, then maybe a part of support might be given by the NGO. But I think if you give money to a patient who already has debts, what happens? They might have any nearby people. And if an NGO like you go and give some money to this person, these people might already know about this. And while you give the money, for one moment that will be with the patient, but after that it is going to be distributed to this all these people who are around him, from whom he has borrowed it. So financial support in terms of money may not be a good idea, even though they have need. So that's why we mainly focus on rehabilitation, to give them a lifelong earning. So Emil has showed you some pictures like rearing goats, making umbrella. So these are things which we usually do with our patients. Um, Thank you.
So as we already said, preventive health services along with surgical services he has been providing. Very good to hear that, sir. And we also pray that your work see more success. And Dr. Urmila has added to Dr. Neelkam's point that clinicians don't have time to counsel the patients for this dedicated uh, ha- not have time to counsel them. For this dedicated multi-social workers appointment is must in palliative care providing institutions. So true, Dr. Urmila. Dr. Sunil would also agree to that. That each institution having providing palliative care should have multiple social workers.
Anybody else have any more comments? You can unmute and speak. Emil, do you have any?
Nothing, sir. If there are any questions about our work, we can explain that.
Okay.
Participants.
Yes, Priya, if there are no questions, is there a patient story today?
No, sir. Actually, we had requested for someone to send in a case scenario, but unfortunately, we have not received it. So, if anyone is having any particular case scenario which you feel that can be taken up for the remaining time, we'll be happy to uh, take that in with Mr. Emil and Dr. Sunil to give their valuable insights. I believe the participants are a little bit like held up to their works today. We would encourage more active participation. Dr. Indra has already thanked. Thank you. Any interesting case or any interesting situation which you had come across recently or in the past times, which you felt had an impact on the psychosocial aspects you would like to share? So, sir, I believe that is all for the day. If no one else is having any comments or insights to share.
Ma'am, if you allow, I can give some.
Sure, Dr. Breda, please.
Yeah, so ma'am, we had a patient in our department, the husband and wife. So they were not socio-economically very well to do. The patient, the wife was suffering from recurrent ovarian carcinoma. So the husband is, he do this binding of or painting works and all those things, painting works he does all. So when the disease recurred, he did not knew it, and the symptoms also did not occur very at the beginning. So they did not came for follow-up and all those things very nicely. So the patient when had abdominal distension and urine incontinence, then only they presented. So after we did all the evaluation, we found that the disease has recurrence again. So when we told the patient about it, they were at first they were okay because they had the experience that she had cancer and it was treated nicely. And at that time, she was very well, good, in good condition. So, but slowly and slowly, when she began to deteriorate, the husband was very anxious because he was like that they have been taking all the medications and treatments from last 7 years. He exhausted his money, and they don't have any other family member also, only the husband and wife. So whenever he comes to OPD with any complaints, the last thing whatever he will be saying is that nobody else is there in this world other than the wife. So if she dies, eventually he is also going to die. So we tried a lot of things. We tried him to do a lot of things. And on the last day, when we told him that now the disease is in this stage that nothing medicine is working, no curative measures can be taken. So the best thing is either basic supportive care or hospice care. So at that time he broke down. He said that if she is going to die tomorrow or day after tomorrow, then the next thing will be that I will also die. So we counseled him, we told him so many things. We asked him to meet with all the survivors also, and we keep his contact number, and we asked him that on his area where he stays, he can help the other patients or the other members who are suffering or who can't come to the hospital or who don't have any good caretakers, or he can go, and as they don't have any children or anything, so they can go to orphanage or something and give some time, spend some time there. I don't know how much it helped him, but on that day it seemed like that he was little bit calm. So in this kind of cases, it becomes very difficult, and he is not like he understands everything, but he does whatever his mind is telling. So that's one case that came into my mind.
Thank you, Dr. Very inspirational words. Uh, Many a times I believe that we do come across some such persons, even if I am not a medical person, I am a non-medical person, but still the situation is kind of unimaginable when there are only two persons left who are seeing face to face every day. And then there was this instance that once the lady came back to life with your expert treatment, and they had this confidence, they had this huge confidence that this time also this too will pass, and then the situation changed. So I don't know, Mr. Emil, would you like to add in your comments?
Yeah, that's something like anticipatory grief there, and also the incapability of acceptance problem. So I don't know, doctor, you did a great work. Like rituals are important. What we do after these are great things that will make different changes in us. You suggested some rituals for the caregiver to cope up with that work. So that's a great thing of the doctor.
So true. Like they even gave him suggestion that he could make use of his life by helping others, by supporting others who are in similar situation, and like that way he could find a meaning to his own life. So great, Doctor. Doctor Sunil, would you like to add something?
Uh, no, I don't think. I think it's a part of spirituality, finding out the meaning of life, and you helped him to attain that. Uh, so I think that was very good gesture from your part. And I also want to tell you that in each and every institution, there may not be a social workers. So it's our job as clinicians and there are many problems for us because we have to see a lot of patients per day. the time is not enough. So there are many problems that we face, but we have to also understand that each and every person who come to see you may not need the same amount of psychosocial care. That will vary from one person to person. For some patients, a smile might be enough. But for another person, you might need to take 2 minutes. But some other person, you may take 30 minutes. So you have to actually allocate your time according to the importance or problems faced by the patient. So time management is the essential factor in caring for patients.
Thank you for that valuable points, Lisa. Yes, the chat box is becoming full with appreciations for Dr. Brennan. And anyone else would like to unmute or talk? Lisa, I think we are done for the day. Should
Yeah.
we-
Okay.
So with your permission, we shall wind up for the today's session. So thank you everyone for joining us and being with us for such a wonderful session of the psychosocial aspects of palliative care. I believe that at least some of you might have got a great inspiration from Dr. Neelkant's and Dr. Brinda's words as well. So hoping that all these points, all these learnings which we are having from the sessions might help you in your clinical practices, in your professional and personal lives. This is Sri Priya, along with Dr. Sunil Kumar and Mr. Emil George, signing off from the Tips Echo Hub. See you tomorrow with another session. Till then, everyone, take care. Bye bye.